Boom! And we're live. How are we doing, people?
Here we are.
Here we are. It's another Tuesday. Tuesday fun day.
Tuesday, I'm rested, ready to go. Oh, feeling better after a nice little vacation. And yeah, things are good.
Right on.
How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome to After the Cook, everybody. I'm Mel, Dark Side of the Grill. And this is Chris, Shem,
Titletown
Griller,
ladies and
Titletown Griller. I'm Dark Side of the Grill. You're Titletown Griller. There you go. Fantastic. Fantastic. I am not rested up. Not even a little bit, but I'm happy you are. It looked like a great vacation you had, eh?
Oh, kids everywhere, family everywhere. It was a good time.
Nice.
You know, it's one of those days where I'm glad it ended on a Saturday, so you get Sunday to kind of recover.
Yeah.
Just get a little bit of quiet. You know, we had between all the grandkids, there was 8 grandkids and 9 adults. So, yeah, it was a nice trip up in what we call God's country, which is still, a little bit south of the border. But, we're not far from Canada at that point once you get to northern Wisconsin.
Nice.
But, yeah, it was beautiful. Nice to unplug a little bit. Didn't have very good cell phone reception or good Wi-Fi, which is,
good.
Fantastic every now and then.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah, we had a quiet little show there without you, but it went on, right? The show must go on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a good time. It's a good time. And now you're back.
And now we're back.
Now you're back. We got a special guest tonight. Yes, we do. Well, I'm quite pumped about this one. We got Travis, the retail butcher. And he's going to come and spin some facts about meat and stuff like that. You guys have probably already seen him on Instagram. He's been all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. They do the Butcher's Lounge live. So he's always heading that up, and here he is.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Travis Berwald.
Yeah.
Okay. Travis Berwald, and I'm an alcoholic. Is this the right chat room? I just want to.
It is. It is. It is the right chat.
It's been how long since?
All right. I just want to make sure. You never want to be too sure. Cheers to you guys. Thank you guys for reaching out to me and having me on your show. It's a true honor, and I hope I can help out as much as I can. So here we are.
Fantastic.
We're happy to have you. Wanted to have a few shows where we get kind of experts in a certain field where we can really kind of hone in and kind of talk about something specific instead of kind of jumping all over the place, which is great sometimes, but sometimes it's nice to kind of get a little bit of a knowledge drop on us and learn something.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, Travis?
So no. It's a great butcher community that we've been a part of, and I'd love to share any kind of knowledge I have and help you guys out as much as possible. So
awesome.
Yeah. So how long have you been a butcher?
I've been a butcher through apprenticeships and journeyman for I've been
Oh, I'm having him cut out a little bit. Is that just me, Mel, or is he cutting out for you too?
No, he's cutting out for me too.
Okay.
I thought this was locked up. I was like, oh no. It seems like every time somebody text messages me, everything goes to heck. But is everybody still on here? Can you hear us? Say hello. Hello.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Darren, James, Joanne, can you guys hear us in the chat? Let us know.
Darren made a freezy face. Oh, there he is. He's back. How you doing? Yeah, sometimes these things get wonky with the Wi-Fi's.
I turned my Wi-Fi off. So
okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, sometimes it's needed. I can tell when my kids start running all of the gear in the house because all of a sudden this starts, and then I have to text the wife and be like, "Can you do me a favor and turn off 2 out of the 4 things that are going right now, please?" That's
yeah. No, I feel you. I'm out in the garage, so it's a little further away than where the router's at. So
sure. Well, Let's start over from the beginning a little bit. Why don't you give us again?
Where did you lose me at?
I didn't hear a whole lot of anything.
Okay.
I got hello. My name's Travis, and then.
And I'm an alcoholic. Is that?
That's right. We did that. That was good.
That was loud and clear. Everything else was a little bit.
No. I'm Travis Berwald. I am the retail butcher. I'm one of the founding fathers of Butcher's Lounge Live. I've been doing. I've been in the grocery business as far as working in meat departments and small independent grocery stores, little mom and pop grocery stores for 18 years now, and just cutting subprimals, kind of out of the box. But on the side, I've been I do a lot of wild game, whether it's waterfowl, whether it's big game, things like that. That's kind of my forte. Being up here in the Pacific Northwest, up in the San Juan Islands, we have a big hunting season up here, so there's a lot of phone calls coming my way starting September into late November, early December. So, but as far as like whole beef and things like that, I've broken down lamb, I've broken down pigs, elk, things like that. So, I just hope I can bring, my knowledge to you guys from my perspective and from what I've seen in my 18 years of doing this. So, me speaking for other butchers in this industry, there's a lot better butchers in this industry that are a lot better than I am at breaking down whole animals and things like that. But I am truly honored and thankful that you guys reached out to me to be on this. I've been fans of you guys for a long time. I've watched you guys when you guys were just doing Instagram stuff, and then now into YouTube, Facebook. What's that hub thing called? But that's just that's just Mel. So it's just I don't know what else is going on
that too.
We weren't going to talk. We weren't going to talk about
that.
Oh, sorry.
Somewhere,
sorry.
I'm sure. So.
Yeah, well, that being said, Travis, there's a lot better podcast hosts out there too. So
that's true.
I'm just truly honored and thankful that you guys reached out to me and wanted me to be a part of this. So thank you to you guys. So
yeah, this will be a lot of fun. So we're gonna start a little chat going. We'll start talking about some cuts of meat. If there's any questions you guys have, drop them in the chat too, and we'll try to cover those too, just so we can make sure we can get everything in.
100%. That's a big one that we're hoping with these. Getting into more detailed series of things when you guys are hitting those questions in the comments there.
Mm-hmm.
That we had a lot of fun when we did that brisket kind of seminar thing. That was fantastic. So you guys, you got questions. Now's a great time throughout this chat. Feel free to pop them up, and hopefully we can get them answered. This is.
I think it was a couple of maybe it was a year back. I was watching you guys on Instagram, and I had popped a question in there of who was your inspirations in barbecue, and it kind of stopped you guys in your tracks. Like,
yeah.
Holy cow, we need to like think about this real quick. So.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Most of the time, we have a lot of loyal people that tune in, but they don't ask a lot, and that's we're trying to get them more motivated to jump in here a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
and that's how we all learn.
Either that or all of our friends are know-it-alls. Whatever, it is what it is. But
yeah, that could be.
Yeah, that's okay too.
I've learned more of having an Instagram page for butchery in these last 2 years than I've learned in the last 15, 16 years of being a butcher, just from seeing things from that what people are doing around the world.
Yeah, man. No,
just not in my backyard. It's around the world. It's the UK, it's Canada, it's Australia, New Zealand. It's a lot of that different, the different cultures, the different backgrounds, the different ways of just doing things, whether it's killing it, skinning it, gutting it, preparing it, cooking it. You guys are, I thought I was I thought I was the last person to be able to put out a product out there, being a retail butcher in a way. But But seeing what you guys have done on the barbecue background of this whole thing is you guys have taken it to the whole different level of the different recipes, the different ways of cooking these different cuts and things like that. It's you guys are taking off like crazy. And you know, us with the Butcher's Lounge Live, we've tried to bring it together as a big butcher family, but you guys got your big barbecue family too, whether it's you know, lump charcoal, or if it's pellet fed, or if it's, you know, whatever. It's you guys are doing your thing, and kudos to you guys for doing that. So
well, thanks, man. That's a big thing with Instagram and social media, however you need to put it. To understand what was happening up here and in my own backyard, right? Maybe a few TV shows, whatever. But as soon as you get into the world of how everyone's cooking the same thing, but in different regions and different countries, using different techniques, different supplies, different woods, right? It was just insane when that world just opened up. And honest to God, even today, every day I learn something. Like, I don't go to bed without learning something every single day. And I hope that it's like that until the day I die. Because I love it.
100%, because the way we do stuff in the U.S. or North America is completely different compared to the UK or Brazil, or, you know, all. And it's not just butchery, it's barbecue too, because you know, I'm sure you guys see it too with Brazilian barbecue or Argentinian barbecue, or, you know, asados and you know, a lot of different things like that. You guys are learning just as much as we are of how things are done in different cultures.
That's a great point you bring up, actually. So those beef short ribs in the barbecue world, everyone wants to leave them as a huge plate, right? So in Argentina, in Brazil, they cut them down into about 4-inch strips, but it's the whole strip. They're
with
taking
3 or
that
4
whole
bones
thing
in it.
They put a skewer through it like this, and they're cooking it over live fire. And I'm like, man, a lot of barbecue guys are not going to be down with, you got dino ribs, but you're cutting them into shorties for no reason. But then you see how they do it, and you imagine the flavors, right, of like the woods that they're tossing in there, and that's
the thing, is you leave them, like you said, as the Flintstone or the dinosaur ribs, the Flintstone ribs that get thrown on the, you know, the stone wheel cars and the Flintstones. That's a short rib right there. But if you cut it into 4-inch sections, you know, that's a whole different, you know, culture of barbecue. Then you cut it in those 3-4 sections, then you cut it in between the rib. Those are English cuts. But if you leave it as a whole and then you cut it as a 1/2 inch, those are Korean style short ribs. So it's crazy how you can take one section of beef, one subprimal, or what, you know, like I said, one section, and you can make it into 3 or 4 different types of barbecue or different cuts of beef, and you can stretch that imagination or that, you know, that product out to so many different things. So
and I think part of that too is understanding where the meat comes from, and then how to prepare it. Because the cool thing, you know, especially with those plate ribs that you're talking about, is it's actually one of those cuts where you can cook it 2 different ways depending on how it's prepared. You know, if you get it in the big long plate ribs, you have to low and slow. You have to smoke it to make it tender. But you get the flanken style Korean barbecue short ribs, and I fire my grill up to 700 degrees and maybe, you know, 60 to 90 seconds per side, and it's good to go, and it's still tender.
There is one cook, I have to just say it before I forget, because I'm like a goldfish. Talking about this Brazilian, Argentinian, whatever, a past guest of ours, Eric Gephardt. Chris, did you see it? The matambre he did?
No, but I was guessing that's where you were going with it.
Just recently, he did a bone-in prime rib, and he sawed around the bones, and then he laid it out, filled it full of the goodies, rolled it up, and wrapped it still with the bone, so it looked like a 3-bone prime rib. But it was a roll of matambre. And matambre, for everybody,
it's almost like a butterfly prime rib.
Yes, a butterfly prime rib. And we had talked about this when he was on there, because I did a matambre with what they call rose meat. which is like a skirt, but it's like a huge, wide, like chunk of skirt.
Yeah.
That's thin. I'm trying to think. It's like the outer layer.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I filled that hard-boiled eggs, olives, all kinds of herbs, garlic, and almost like a chimichurri, right? Roll it up nice and tight, and then you smoke it low and slow, and then you cut it up into. It was amazing. But to do a prime rib like that, and as soon as I saw it was him, I'm like, dang it. Oh, you sneaky bugger. And it's perfect. Just perfect.
Of course.
So you better believe I'm doing one of those right away here, because that's.
So why don't we touch on Darren's question a little bit? I think that's a good place to start. So
I don't see any questions. I don't know if you guys see them or it's just off to me, but
yeah. So Darren's first question, and Travis, I'll have you go first on this one, is what's your favorite cut of beef to cook?
Say
you're cooking it for yourself.
To cook it for myself would be a tri-tip. Tri-tip
Okay.
roast. It's super popular here on the West Coast. In these last couple of years of me having, the Instagram world, around me and me, learning from it, it's growing throughout, the U.S. You see it growing a little bit throughout Canada. It hasn't quite hit the UK yet, but you see it a little bit down in Brazil and Argentina and Chile and things like that, but that's more picanha kind of types. But tri-tip is probably my go-to with barbecue, especially with charcoal barbecue. I love just firing up the Weber and going in on that. I haven't really hit it with the pellet fed because with the pellet fed is that I like using that for time. And I've got little kids, so my patience is pretty thin when it comes to barbecue. So with a tri-tip, I can barbecue it, indirect, direct, whatever, and it'll turn out great. So that's kind of my go-to whenever I have a barbecue. Tri-tips are great. It comes off of that knuckle. It comes off the cap of that knuckle, that sirloin tip. Wherever you're from, it's called different things. But it's that cap off of that knuckle muscle, and it's so full of marbling and such flavor and tenderness. It's definitely my go-to as far as barbecuing, for sure.
So I think this is a great place to start because tri-tips are very popular. I know another one of people's favorite cut of beef is going to be the picanha. And the interesting thing is they're both off the same primal cut. So they're both off the sirloin, right?
Yep.
The picanha, correct me if I'm wrong, is the top sirloin, which is the back hind quarter of a cow.
Yep.
So the picanha is the cap or the top of the top sirloin, where the tri-tip on the bottom sirloin, that little tail.
So if you're cutting a short loin and you come into that porterhouse cut where it's you've got 2 or 3 thick cut T-bones which have that porterhouse cut, which have that third interior muscle that's on top of the New York strip there. That's your tail end of your top sirloin.
Okay.
And then once you get deeper into that top sirloin, you gain a cap muscle there, which comes off of the rump. And that's where you get that picanha, is that cap muscle, but it ends up seaming into the top sirloin muscle, or if you're in the UK or Australia or New Zealand, they call it the rump.
Okay.
And
so they're not too far from
here in
each other.
America, North America, we call the rump the outside round, which is your bottom round in a way. Which are coming into those leg muscles, that eye of round, the inside round, the bottom round, things like that. So
that's awesome. How much of a pain in the ass is it? Because in Wisconsin, I don't see picanha on the shelf. We don't see it done the way it should be. Is it more difficult to trim it out as a picanha or as a culotte steak is the other name? Is it more difficult to leave that fat cap on and have
No.
that trimmed out like that?
No, because in my shop we take that culotte off completely. And once you peel that culotte off, it's the best sound in the world because you're getting that rip of that interior, the fat and the membrane and everything else. It's an awesome sound when you get a whole top sirloin or a whole rump, and you kind of dig into that. There's a big triangular wedge of fat that separates the sirloin and the picanha. And once you cut into that, it like I said, it's a big seam, so you can push or pull that back, and the sound of just that ripping
it's like Velcro.
It is. It's like Velcro, and some people might not like it, and some people love it, and it's one of the best sounds in butchery for me in a way to be able to hear that. But to have it available in my shop, and as far as cutting, we cut it into strips. We cut it into inch and a quarter steaks. Sometimes with fat on, sometimes with fat off. But if somebody comes in and asks for a whole picanha or a whole top sirloin cap, once you peel that off, and the internal part of it, it's got like a silver skin to it. It's got a thick kind of that you have to. It's like a thick membrane or a thick. We just call it a silver skin, but you have to peel that out. You have to kind of come underneath it and get as close as you can because it's pretty thick. It's like an eighth of an inch thick, and if you keep that on, you're going to have to cook that off in some sort of form. It's kind of like a top blade in a way in the shoulder where you get that flat iron, you have that oyster cut, and you have that gristle line that runs all the way through it. You have to kind of peel that out in a way. But the bottom part of it is solid fat. And you guys know when you cook a whole picanha, it's once you guys get it, it's solid meat on one side and it's fat on the other. So we smoke it or we cook it indirectly, and then we sear it, as far as at a high heat on the back end of it, or vice versa, depending on what you want to do. But that fat just explodes once you put it on that direct heat. And like I said, some people want the fat on, some people want the fat off. Either way, you're going to get a nice tender steak, a nice tender cut, whether you do either or.
So when you cut those into steaks, is that what they label as a sirloin strip steak? That be the picanhas?
I label it in my shop once I cut it into steaks would be a top sirloin steak.
Okay.
I don't label it as anything different. We pay the same price for the whole subprimal. So I just kind of charge. We just charge the same as far as that goes. We charge it as a top sirloin steak. If we could do it different, if we were in a smaller shop as far as clientele, we would probably charge a little bit different to try to get a little bit more out of the back end of it. But in the shop that I'm at, and the production we put in, we charge the same price as far as a top sirloin steak. So.
Well, so Joanne was asking about that silver skin. They always cut the silver skin off. That's one thing. It's almost uncookable. Anytime you see silver skin, they're in there trying to get rid of it. So usually don't have to worry about that. And it's funny you brought up that exact scenario. This happened to me when I was up in Canmore, or Invermere, I forget which, but Chris remembers. We talked about this last time too. I was up there. And I walk through the meat selection, and it's the meat selection's not great. And I look down, and I'm like, top sirloin steaks. Those are picanha, 100%. Those are. So I walk up to the butcher, and I say, "Hey, dude, what are the odds you got a box of these back there? Because they were on crazy sale. They were cheap. Like, what are the odds you still got some of these cryovac back there? And sure as shit, he had them in bags of 3 cryovac, right? And right away, I was like, so can I just get that cryovac bag? He's like, you don't want me to cut the fat off or anything? I'm like, no, don't touch it. Whatever you did here, don't do that. Just give it to me. And he laughed. He's like, so you're going to pay the same price and I don't even have to work? Of course I'm going to sell it to you. And I'm like, I just got a picanha for like $15, dude. Like, this is crazy. This is, yeah.
And I'll tell you this right now, Mel. If you were in a grocery store and they charge you the same exact price as the case price out in the counter for the price you bought the bag, you got screwed over. I'm sorry, but if I don't have to touch the product and if I don't have to open up that bag up, you're going to pay a lot cheaper than it is out in the counter. Because the moment I open up that bag up and I have to start trimming stuff off of it, that's when it's going to cost you money. So if you ever do that in your grocery store, your meat market, your butcher shop, whatever, if you want to buy something in the cryovac and they're charging the same price as the case price, tell them to go fuck themselves. I'm sorry, I don't mean to use that language, but
for the price that I got it though, I was like, start the car, like this.
If they're going to charge you the same price.
Yeah.
For them to do the labor, and they don't have to do anything for you to do the labor, walk out. Just there's no reason to pay that extra, $2-3 a pound for you to do the work. It doesn't make any sense. What all they're doing is putting a price tag on. They're putting it on a scale and putting the price tag on. It doesn't make any sense. I will always make a deal for my customers if they want to buy stuff in the bag. It doesn't matter if it's a rib roast, if it's a New York strip, it's a filet. If you want to buy it in a bag and I don't have to touch it or trim it, you will get a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Well, that's up here. I think it's quite rare that people will even sell in the cryovac in our grocery stores. It's a new thing for them still. We're quite far behind from the States, right? Easter weekend, there's usually a prime rib sale. And they'll be selling like a 3-bone prime rib or whatever, and it'll be an excellent price. And right away, I scoot in there, and I'm like, I need 4 of them still in the cryo. And they're like, the whole 7-bone? I'm like, yeah, like, don't touch it. Just give it to me the way it is. And I dry age them, so I need the fat cap on anyway. Right away, they want to cut the fat cap off. I'm like, no, I need it just the way it is. Let me add it, right? And, it's always a great deal, but they charge the same as whatever's on the tag out front. So
find a new butcher, bud. I'm sorry, find a new butcher because you're getting screwed. You're now paying for your labor.
Oh, I know. No, I know. But the fact is, like those flyer prices, it's cheap. It's
I get you, but still, it's if you're paying cheap, they're paying cheaper. So,
100%.
I think I sent you a picture a while back. It was before the 4th of July, but we had Packer briskets, $2.99 a pound. I think I sent you the picture. It was either you or Chuck but it was $2.99 for a whole Packer brisket in the cryo for $2.99 a pound.
Yeah.
You're $50 for a 20-pound brisket. And the only reason we could do that is the fact that we didn't have to open it up and cut it up, trim it up. And, because the moment we do that, we have to turn all that trim into hamburger. So that's our first loss. That's a loss right there for us. So, and it's a loss for you, you know. If I were one of you guys, I would be saving all this trim and everything that you're cutting off these briskets and tri-tips and sirloins and short loins and whatever. I'd be cryovacing that stuff at home and I'd be freezing it and I would be making hamburgers and busting that shit out as my own hamburgers.
Oh yeah. No, I'm they're very rare. There's brisket trim ends up in the garbage around here. That's
but you see what I'm saying?
For sausages too, right?
You can turn you can take the money that you're spending on a cryovac product, and you can turn it into product in your own home, rather than somebody else at a butcher shop. And I work in a butcher shop. Don't get me wrong. I work in a butcher shop. I'm all about the profit margins and everything else. But the way beef prices are right now, I'll buy something in a cryovac, and I will stockpile my trimmings off of tri-tips, briskets, and ribs and everything else, whether it's fat or just straight meat. And I will stockpile. I will turn that into the best goddamn hamburgers that I can fucking make.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the trimmings and fat. So like think about picanha. So the way that I like the picanha fat is before you cook it, it feels like the brisket fat. It's harder, it's a little bit more firm, but when you cook it, it kind of turns into that ribeye fat. Then it turns into that buttery, flavorful, not chewy at all. I mean, it don't confuse it with gristle, because it's not gristle. It's the type of fat that just melts into it. How do you compare that fat to, say, like the brisket tallow?
Well, brisket fat comes off the chest.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking back fat, which is, it's a whole different ball game. And you could break it down from brisket fat to ribeye fat to short loin, and strip loin fat. I feel like you said, it gets a little bit tougher on the way you go down towards the hind quarter of the beef.
Yeah.
Your ribeye fat is always going to be a little bit more looser in a way, because I think and like I said in the beginning of this thing, there's a lot more educated butchers than me out there that could probably go into more elaboration on this than I can. But those shoulders are moving a lot more than say your mid loins and your hindquarters in a way. So that just makes things move a lot more. So it breaks things down a little bit more. Once you start getting into that center part of the back fat and the back loin, where you're getting into that New York and that sirloin or that rump in a way, you're starting to get into a little bit harder fat. I honestly think it's more movement within the animal.
Okay.
And it kind of just loosens things up. It could be anything from that to how the animal was harvested.
Mm-hmm.
If they had a bad kill, a good kill, if the animal is relaxed or stressed out, there's a lot of different variables to that, to where you can. It's a lot of opinionated things that there's a lot of opinions out there that this person did this person did that, this is the way this animal was killed, that animal was killed. Was this animal, like I said, stressed out, going into it?
But I can say for sure,
because me with wild game, I've been an avid archery hunter for 15 years now, and I found out that say you put, I'm an avid archery hunter, so I've never hunted with rifles on deer or anything else really in my whole life. So, but if you put the wrong arrow in a certain spot, it adds stress to that animal, and stress adds tension. And if that animal is stressed and tense when it dies, it's going to die like that. It's going to die tense and stressed out and real tight. And I've had some tough ass steaks in my day, and I've had some real tender steaks in my day, and they're all cut from the same area. So,
well, we get that with the pigs directly. Like, if someone screwed up even shooting them, right? Like, right away.
The thing is about pigs is you have to be able to bleed that pig out the moment it was shot.
Yeah.
If you follow guys like my butcher buddy Aaron Waters, or SoCal Butchery, or Jake Diger, or anybody like that, you're watching their slaughter videos, and you're going in, you're putting in depth, knowledge into what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they're shooting a pig,
yeah,
the moment they shoot it, they're jumping the fence and they're slicing the throat because they're trying to bleed that animal out to where there's not so much stress and so much blood pressure in those muscles.
yeah,
To where it's going to have that, that bruising or that, that discoloring, inside the internal muscle of the whole animal. It doesn't matter if it's pork butt or a pork loin or a pork, the hindquarters. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's out at the farm where we get our hogs. They got a little loader, right? And right away they're bogging that thing right in there, getting the chain out, and up she goes, and it's like that, like right now. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about how the animal is harvested. It doesn't matter if it's in the farm or wild game or anything. It's all about how that animal is harvested.
I would love to see like the Snake River, the Australian, the gold grade Wagyu that's coming out now. Like Chris was saying about the fat cap on that picanha, some of them are like absolute butter. As soon as you hit that right temperature, like you would hope that fat cap would be a half-inch thick, just the way it renders down and is like just perfect. It's still there and it's still present, but it's not gristle. It's something you want to put in your mouth.
Right.
That T-bone I did the other day had a huge, beautiful, fat line on the outside there. And the exact same, it wasn't gristle. When you bit into it, it cut nice in your teeth. It chewed really nice, and it was so flavorful. And it had that little bit of char on the outside from rolling it over the flames. Like, it's fantastic. And that's exactly like we're talking. How was it? How was it processed? How was it killed? How was it perfect? Yeah.
So let's touch base on a couple of the, I don't want to say maybe lesser known cuts, lesser known steaks. Mel and I were talking about this a little bit before. What's the difference between an inside skirt steak and an outside skirt?
So inside skirt steak comes from inside of the diaphragm. It's like inside of the rib cage. Once you go and harvest that animal and get the internal guts out, lungs out and everything like that, that muscle that you see on the inside of the rib cage, that's your inside skirts.
Okay.
Outside skirts run from about the sixth. Is it the sixth? Yeah, about the sixth rib, and it runs diagonally to the 12th rib. So it kind of just runs on the outside of that rib, that lower part of the rib cage down into the lower belly, kind of in a sense.
So is the outside skirt, is that actually the diaphragm?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more of just an outside and external muscle in a way. I don't think it's part of the diaphragm whatsoever. People might argue with me on that, but I think it's more it's an external muscle rather than an inside skirt.
Perfect. Right on cue. Some of the other ones I want to talk about. A bavette steak.
You're kind of cutting out. There's a little bit of static. I don't know if I don't know if it's me or.
Is that for everybody? That static? I can hear it too. I was wondering if it was where it was coming from.
I'm in my garage by myself, so I don't know if it's coming from.
Yeah, no, this is. Yeah.
I can hear it a little bit. Oh, crotch shot. So Kim brought up a question, and she asked about a bavette steak.
Bavettes?
Yes.
Yeah, bavette is if it's not tri-tip for me to cook and cut, it's a bavette steak, and it runs right along with the flank steak from the education that I've had, and it's much more marbled. It's a lot less. If you have a flank steak, it's a pretty dense steak. It's you would cook a flank steak like a regular steak, and you would cut open into it, and it would still be pretty rare in ways. I find flanks are pretty dense to where you almost have to tenderize them in a way and marinate them to kind of get them to break down. Bavettes, you kind of have to marinate, but you don't really have to because there's so much internal fat there inside that muscle. Flank steaks, you might find that in some flank steaks, but not a lot. You're not going to get that internal fat marbling as you would as a bavette. A bavette and an outside skirt are also kind of we lost.
He'll be back.
Yeah. All right. He'll be back.
He's got funny thumbs.
Bavette and an outside skirt are kind of in relation in a way. Same with the flank steak. They're all kind of in that same kind of group. Yep. But I would take a bavette over anything. If you guys have followed my page or anything like that, I love taking pictures of bavettes. I love the whole. I love trimming them down. I love butterflying them out. I love cutting them thin because they're just so beautiful. Everything about them is that you get those. I call them lightning strikes because if you cut something that's super marbled in a way, and if you cut it in the right angle, it looks like lightning. It looks, it is just beautiful. So, but we've you guys came to me and said that you wanted to talk about the picanha, and picanha is a different realm than inside outside skirts and hanger steaks in a way because it's more of a solid muscle than it is anything else. You get in those inside outside skirts, you get into that hanger steak. It's more of a quick grill. The hanger steaks can be a little bit thicker like a picanha. I don't have too much knowledge in a hanger steak. Believe me not, in the 18 years I've been doing this, I've rarely cut a hanger steak. We just don't bring them in. It's just they're too expensive and you can't get very many of them. So
the thing that I really like about bavette steaks, and I'm with you. I love a nice bavette steak. To me, it's a cross between a flank steak and a skirt steak. It's thicker like a flank steak is. The grain on a bavette steak is going to run the opposite way that a flank steak does. So the flank steak is going to run the long way. The bavette steak is like the skirt steak where it runs the shorter way. So that's important to remember when you're cutting it, slicing it to actually eat it, to make sure you're cutting it against the grain. But the muscle fibers on the bavette, and you definitely touched on this, they're more loose. So they open up a little bit more.
Well, that's in that internal fat that just makes everything a little bit looser. So,
and I really like developing a crust on a steak when I'm cooking it. So I'm one of those that I'm fine flipping it several times. I'm not just to flip it once and that's it. The nice thing I like about a bavette steak is when you flip it, because it has those looser fibers, it sticks a little bit more to the grill when you flip it. So you get these little skin tears on there, which to me, again, we talked about our barbecue influences. I'm heavily influenced by Adam Perry Lang and the way he cooks. Flipping it, making those little micro tears is going to build a bigger crust, increase that surface area. To me, you just get a little bit more kind of surface flavor when you do stuff like that. And I think the bavette steak is one of the perfect ones to do that with. I do it hot and fast. You'll get the nice crust on the outside, those little tears, and it'll be nice, medium rare.
So when you guys cook a bavette steak, are you doing the whole bavette, or are you doing just sections of it, like the thicker parts of it?
The way I get it is I get it whole.
Yeah.
Whole.
Yeah, whole.
I'm cooking it, the 2-3 pound bavette steak.
Yeah. Because I posted a picture, I think it was maybe last week, of that internal fat and it was the lines just running through the whole part of that whole muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how that shit works. It's all animals are different. I'll get a bavette that doesn't have really any internal fat to it. Then it's like I'll cut into a bag of, and when I say cut into a bag, I'm cutting into subprimals of this stuff. It's, I'm getting 4 or 5 full bavettes in a bag, and some of them are good and some of them are shit. It's every cow is different. You get 2 per animal, and it's a weird muscle of how that animal is raised and how it's brought up, and the feed and how it's broken down and how it's processed. As a butcher in kind of the grocery industry is, we can get a bag of something and we can have 3 or 4 different cows in one bag, and it's like, this isn't the same animal in one bag. Or I can open up one bag one day and a bag the next day and pull out one muscle group and one muscle group on one muscle group on Sunday, one muscle group on Monday, and go, here's the same cow.
Right.
Because that's just how the processing plants work. These big name processing plants, they just pump through this shit as much as possible, and they try to pack it out as fast as they can. And that's the shitty thing of this whole the big ag in a way is, they're pumping this shit out as fast as they can. They don't give a fuck about the animal. They don't give a shit. It's getting it to the consumer as fast as they can.
Well, so, I don't know if you saw that post I did. I was out at that dairy farm, the No Name Dairy Farm, right, which is up here in Alberta. And I went to his abattoir. Is that right? They process all of his animals there, and we broke down a Holstein Wagyu whole steer that had been hanging for, I think, 30-something days. Incredible, man. Incredible. The stuff that all the cuts he was doing, and he was tackling whole on the hook and bringing out parts, and that's where I got that 30-something pound bone-in brisket, which I still haven't done. It's coming, but man, it's a Wagyu Holstein cross. To see how it's raised, to see where it's from, to see the guy that broke it down and like custom hand cut. I've got a tomahawk, like a 3-foot tomahawk that he carved out. Insane, man.
You started a whirlwind of shit with that bone-in brisket. I don't know if you know that, but you started a whirlwind of shit because us butchers, us quote unquote retail butchers in a way, people have seen that. And then you've got my good friend Bobby Morrison, who let's see, he posted a picture or a story of a bone-in brisket, and then we did, us in the lounge, we did the giveaway with Walter Applebaum with his dry aged brisket, and man, you started a whirlwind of shit with that bone-in brisket. It was crazy, dude.
I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped to cook it. The trouble, I should have just cooked it that weekend, is what I should have done. But the problem is the guy.
It's like these guys now that do these bone-in filet mignon. It's like you guys are freaking nuts. Okay?
Yeah. Well, I can see how it's gonna go in my head, and I'm quite pumped to do it. But it was just one of those. The guy who raised the animal wants to come and try it. Right, so I have to tee that up with him as well. I've got my own gigs that I'm doing and stuff, so it's like to try and do the trifecta to get it done in a calm weekend where I can still have a few people, a couple guys own restaurants out here, really want to come and try it too. I should have just done it that weekend and been done with it, because I'm so pumped to do it. So pumped.
Are you still sitting on that bone-in brisket?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I've been swamped, just swamped. And it stares at me every day. I'm like, I don't think my bosses are on here. I should call in sick and bust that thing out, is what I should do. Because,
You still got a day job with this dark side grill stuff?
Yeah, dude. I weld 8 to 10 hours a day, man. It's
Oh, you're an animal.
and then the kids, right? Plus now the catering, right? It's
You're
just
busy
nonstop. I need sleep. That's the one thing I don't get.
So, 2 more questions for you just on bavette steaks. One is, do you label them anything else when they're on your shelf? So, like, if people don't see a bavette steak on their shelf, could it be called anything else?
No.
Okay.
We label it all as a bavette. Right now, from our supplier down in Oregon, we haven't been able to get bavettes. Because there's such a high demand on them because of you barbecue guys. No, but bavette has just hit that skyrocket of popularity. And I work in an independent and a grocery store. And what I mean by independent, I mean it's like mom and pop. Sure. I live on an island out here in the San Juans, the Pacific Northwest of Ireland, of Washington. It's 2 different spectrums. I have to take a ferry to the absolute mainland, and it's almost an hour and a half ferry ride to. Oh, wow. To get to the mainland of where I'm at. So supplies are hard. Shipping is hard. COVID was really hard. Things like that. But now that we're kind of back in full force in a way, and things are starting to open up. Things were easier to get during COVID. As far as us being a small independent grocery store, because the restaurants were closed.
Right.
With the restaurants closed, we've seen an upkick in meat sales through the roof.
Yeah.
So now that the restaurants are starting to open up and seeing more clientele through outdoor dining, they're buying more the product that we used to get, whether it be bavettes. You don't see very many bavettes in restaurants, but you see flat irons, you see short ribs, you see skirt steaks, you see ribeyes in New York. One thing I'm going to plug in here real quick is the fact that you guys came to me, and Mel, we had this chat in a private chat the other night, was the fact that what you wanted to go over was, like you said, hanger steaks, skirt steaks, inside and out, flank steaks, and picanhas.
Yep.
Those are secondary cuts. If anybody's out there listening, those are secondary cuts. Yeah. Because your first, I guess your go-to cuts in a way are your ribeyes, your strip loins, your fillets, your T-bones.
Yeah.
Those are your first 4, go-to cuts. Me as a retail butcher in a grocery store, I want to educate you guys as the consumer that there's more out there than ribeye, New York, T-bone, fillet.
Yeah.
There is that bavette. There is that inside outside skirt. There is that picanha. There is that Denver steak. There is that chuck eye. It's those secondary cuts that get turned that are looked at with a blind eye.
Yeah.
And right now they're cheaper. They're so much cheaper than anything out there. Beef prices, as you guys see it, as social media grillers, barbecuers, entrepreneurs, things like that. You guys are seeing it as far as consumers, that the beef prices, pork prices, chicken prices are going up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's costing you guys more to barbecue than it is anything. Yeah. Correct?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
So
right now. Our restaurant
me,
just
me
opened up.
coming on your show to educate people about secondary cuts, the Denver steaks, the flank steaks, the picanhas, the outside skirts, you know, anything in between is, you know, is not going to only help you guys as far as putting out a product out there with something normally, you know, Joe Schmo wouldn't fucking cook.
Mm-hmm.
But it's putting it out there for me to put out a product that somebody wouldn't buy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of butchers are going to kick myself and they're going to kick me in the nuts for doing this because it's going to put more work on them to put these products out there. But you know, but it also educates us. It educates us in a way to where it makes us go outside of our realm and our circle to be able to cut something that's going to be able to taste good and barbecue good and grill good, slow cook good, and go from there. You know, we have to educate our consumers that there's something other than a ribeye, New York, filet, and T-bone to cook out there.
Yep.
And that goes into pork too, because people want a boneless pork chop or a bone-in pork chop. I will cook a pork shoulder blade steak 100 times more than I would cook a boneless pork chop.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I grew up on those.
And people go,
man.
where's this blade steak coming from? Well, you know that pork shoulder that you just pulled into pulled pork? Yeah. That's the exact same cut that I'm showing you right now in a steak form.
Yeah. That would, you know what? I had one of those aha moments when I pulled that triangle bone out, doing a smoked pork butt, and I pulled that triangle bone out, and I was like, wait a minute, that's that ugly bone in my pork chops all the time. But it's always cut down to an inch. I was like, there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love educating my customers on things to buy. They want a flank steak. I'm out of flank steaks. Let's go look at a bavette. Let's look at it. Yep. Let's look at a skirt steak. Let's look at something. I don't carry hanger steaks in my store. Hanger steaks are more of a restaurant cut than anything else. Like I said, I've done 18 years in grocery butchery in small markets, big markets. I've worked in markets where we're pumping $35,000 a day in meat sales, and you don't throw anything away. And I've worked in markets where you're doing $1,700 in meat sales, and you can't sell a fucking thing.
You know what, Travis? One thing I push on here all the time is for people to love and respect their grocery store butcher.
Yep.
I push that. The last catering gig I did, couldn't find briskets anywhere because our restaurants are opened up, and they just ate everything. They ate everything in town. So here I am. I had to go to Costco, and I was dreading it. Don't you think one of the butchers there pulled a cart full of boxes of cryo briskets and stood there and shook them with me to pick the most pliable ones? I was like, you wouldn't get this from Cisco. You wouldn't get this from GFS. You just changed my whole outlook on how we're doing this here at Costco. Like I was touched, man.
One thing I can say, and I work in an independent grocery store, and the biggest thing that I can say is support your local butcher.
100%.
Don't go
100%.
to your major market. Don't go to your major market grocery store and expect to get the best cut available, or the best knowledge available, because they're trying to make their margin. Go to the guy that's going to educate you.
Yep.
I have said I've been a super advocate of how do I want to say this? Jamie Waldron. He's from the East Coast of Canada. He does meat shares, and he breaks down a whole beef, and he cuts them into different sections and different things, and he breaks them down, whether it's stew meat, stir fry, steaks, roasts, here, there, different things. and he takes reservations, and you buy this for this price. You get this much for this price. You get, whether it's steaks, roast, stew meat, ground beef, that doesn't matter. You pay this price, you get it out of there. So me being 18 plus years into this, I'm 36 years old now. I live on an island with 2 grocery stores. And I don't have a problem saying this. I don't have a problem with who sees it, who hears about it, whatever. My big thing is what I want to do when I'm able, and when I say able is financially able to carry my family, my 2 kids, is what I want to do is I want to get into this island scene of taking island beef, pork, beef, lamb, chicken, and I want to take this product, take this animal, and I want to put it back into the local community, whether it's co-ops, whether it's farmers markets. It doesn't matter whether it's here or on a different island. If I can take that product, break it down, put it into cryovac product, and put it back into the local community, that is my main goal in my life, to be able to do that, because there's nobody here that will do it. We all have to resource out to do that. We have to bring people in from the mainland to call them all the way here to slaughter their beef, slaughter their pork, slaughter their lamb, take it off island, and then bring it back to their co-ops. No, I want to do that here. I want to do it all here. I want to be able to have the shop to be able to break that shit down and have a full service counter to where we can sell that product in store. And then when we're closed, we go to the farmers markets. We go to the co-ops. We put our products. It doesn't matter if it's steaks, roasts, bone broth. It's been, the name's been used, but it's no ounce wasted.
That's amazing.
It's the broth, it's the head cheese, it's the sausage, it's everything in between. That's my main goal. And in my life, in my career, is the fact that I want to put local products back into the local community.
Yeah. No, man, I've seen this firsthand when I went to that dairy ranch here not long ago. His abattoir was like 15 kilometers away from his ranch, where they processed the animals he raised, and then they'd move it back to his ranch where he had a small butcher shop or a small store.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it goes to the restaurants local here in Edmonton. His animals don't move much farther than like 50 kilometers from where they were raised.
Yeah.
And there's some of the best here in Alberta.
Yep.
And there's love in every step of the way, whether it be packaging or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got no marketing.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part, is there's no marketing. It's all totally self-contained. And like the love that goes from, I just picked this one up at auction. We've got, some time with her and wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it moved me. It actually moved me to see, as he's digging steaks out of the freezer, he's like, and this one, this was a good one. And I'm like, wow, man, this is amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I love.
What are your beef prices like there in Wisconsin, Chris? Are they going up? I mean, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, everything's going up right now. Some of the places you can still get, a decent deal on them here and there. But yeah, they're definitely starting to climb a little bit. Even ground beef a few weeks ago was still pretty high for, higher than I would expect it, a buck or two more than what it usually is.
Can I ask what you're paying for ground beef? Is it above $6 per pound?
No.
Okay.
So it's not that much. And in Wisconsin, we do have a lot of cows here too. So, there's a lot of farm. There's a lot of, it's pretty strong there. So I don't think our prices get as high as they do in other places, but we have a harder time getting those secondary cuts. They're not as big here, which is, we get You know, you can get your T-bone, your porterhouse, your tenderloins, your New York strip, ribeyes, and then you get a lot of different types of chuck roasts. You know, there'll be English chuck roasts and other roasts like it's even hard to find like a chuck eye or a eye of round roast. Some of those are tough to find sometimes, and you really got to know where to go and look for these secondary markets. Now, we do have a lot of meat processing places around here that'll have some of the beef butchering, but again, in Wisconsin, a lot of those are also geared towards the deer processing, the venison processing, hunting. They'll be doing a lot of that too. So stuff's kind of hit and miss here. There's only one place that I know of around here that'll have like tri-tip in their case, and it's even then it's not always trimmed up like a normal tri-tip like we expected. It's pretty darn close.
Mel, I love what you're doing with Aya Brown. Aya Brown is one of those cuts. I don't know if it's here or just all around that. It either gets put into ground beef or it's made into jerky. But you and what you're putting out there with your Aya Brown roast is more than I've seen in the last probably 5 or 6 years of people doing Aya Brown roasts. You're slicing it. You're doing it all right, dude.
It's so beefy and it takes the smoke so well. Yeah. And if you have an au jus with it, it's not dry at all.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Well, anything you slice thin as much as you do it's going to be tender no matter what. And I'm sure my wife is watching this live here in the other room on TV. But when I first started dating my wife, they invited me over for steak night, and I'm like, oh sweet, steak night, sweet, homemade French fries. They're throwing, inch cut Aya Brown steaks on the barbecue. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Who the fuck
I'm just going to be over here chewing.
What you're doing with Aya Browns and you're bringing it back. It's cool that a lot of these barbecue guys, whether it's you or Chris or Chuck or Misty or any of these great barbecue influences out there in the social media world, you guys are bringing these awesome cuts that typically get put into stew meat or jerky or stir fry or hamburger. You guys are putting them back into the spotlight of barbecue.
No.
And that's fucking cool, man. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's man. It's honestly, it's a chase for the flavor. Yeah. It's a chase for the beef taste. Like when I spring the skirt steaks out, the wife will have all her friends over for a barbecue, and I'll cook them all skirt steaks, and they'll eat it right off the cutting board.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "What the hell is this? Like, what do you have on this?"
Yeah.
And it's just a light marinade, and what you're tasting is beef.
Yeah. I did that.
And
I did that with those street tacos. I think I sent you the picture of the other night. That was all skirt steak. It was just a simple taco seasoning with some onions and cilantro and some olive oil and a little bit of green sauce and some cheese, and it was great. It was awesome.
That's how I can tell that we're doing things like as a community group, building these things and putting these things back into the spotlight. Like my example with the wife and her friends, at the end of the night there, I had 12 people asking me where to buy skirt steak. So you just know, like it's
and that's the way it is with my group of friends too. My buddies from college. One of my other buddies likes to grill too. Smoking Thai. He'll grill too. But the other guys, I mean, for them, grilling is throwing a burger on a propane gas grill.
Yeah.
But when we get together, we always plan around what we're going to be eating. And those are the nights that I love, where we're cooking up all these like maybe smaller portions or appetizer size. We'll put them on a cutting board in the middle of the table, and I'll be slicing them, and we'll all just be picking off the cutting board,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's all about. And they're just eating. They're like, okay, so what's tri-tip? Where is this? What is this coming from, and why is this so incredible? How come I haven't heard of it? And it's just really cool to see. And especially when you do stuff like you make a reverse seared medium rare tri-tip, then you do a skirt steak that's get hot and fast. That parts of that skirt steak are going to be up close to probably 140 degrees internal temp, 160 degrees in internal temp, but you're going to eat it, and it's going to have so much flavor, so much just a different type of beef flavor, and that's kind of the fun part. Is once you take the time to learn and understand the differences of the different cuts, the different ways that you can prepare them, the different ways that the muscles are going to break down and do everything, that's where you can really kind of have fun with it and kind of showcase the beef in different ways than what people think of it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. Oh.
It's like that brisket flat I just did 2 nights ago or something like that. It was I do a pellet grill, and I don't know if there's a big I would hope that pellet grill and lump charcoal grill and over the fire grill are kind of all in the same family. I hope there's no division there. But
there isn't on this show.
It's kind of like butchery in a way. You got the slaughter guys, you got the farm guys, you got the the grocery store guys, you box butchers, whatever you want to call it. I found my own niche as far as doing just brisket flats. It's just what's affordable right now, and I did it with just a low smoke, and I did it with a porter beer. This time I didn't do it with any beef broth. I just took a dark beer and I spritzed the hell out of it, and the moment I wrapped it, I put probably 3/4 of a beer in there and wrapped it and cooked it until it was about 205, 207, and pulled it off for 3 hours and sliced it. And you guys both saw it. It looked freaking amazing, and it was amazing. I hope we're all in the same family. As I guess what I'm getting to is we created this butcher family, and bringing us all together doesn't matter whether you're on the block or on the hook or in the farm or in the field or out of the box. We're bringing each other together as this big, we call it the Big Butcher family. We got the hashtag and shit like that. But I don't know if there's this crossroads between a lump charcoal guy or a charcoal guy, whether a pellet fed or electric smoker or anything like that. I don't know if there's a crossroads in that in that family or in that field in a way, but I think we're all out. I think we're all out to reach the same product, the same outcome in a way. We want to put out a great product. We want to put out great food. Whether like I said, whether you guys are cooking it or we're preparing it. I brought this up in live chats with the Butcher's Lounge. Live was, we are a Big Butcher family. It doesn't matter whether you're slaughtering or in the grocery store industry. We're all out to the same outcome, and that's to please our customer and please our consumer. It doesn't matter whether you feel like shit if you have a bad kill out in the field. You feel like shit if somebody has a bad steak or a bad roast, or but it could be on the person that's cooking it or barbecuing it or things like that. We want to bring this all together. I respect you guys as the pit masters, the barbecue the gurus in a way, because that's the way I look at you two, is you guys are the upper echelon of barbecue. But in a way is I'm the last guy that touches your product, your meat, and you guys can take that out of context however you want it. But I'm the last guy that trims your steaks, your roasts, your stir fry, your stew meats, your jerkies, your things like that, before you guys put it on your grill and your smokers and your ovens, your cast irons, your things like that. So in my way, in my mind, is I want to put out the best product I can available for you guys. Because if I don't do that for you, you're not going to be able to do that for your consumers, your people that you're feeding. So I take pride in my product, my cakes, the way my shit looks. Because if I don't do that, you guys aren't going to buy it. And when you guys buy it, I take 100% fucking, love and appreciation for what you guys are able to put out there. So
awesome. No, and we always preach love to the butchers, whoever they are, whatever position they're in. And another thing to speak on that point you were saying about different grills and whatever, we definitely preach on this show anyway, the one grill family. We don't care what you cook on. The big deal is that you're cooking on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're feeding other people, you're expanding your horizons, and we always tie that into it all starts with the meat.
Yep.
So it is what it is, man. You guys are as essential as it comes. Like, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys doing what you do. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just it. And I think that's one of the things that we found. I mean, anywhere you give people a voice, there's going to be some people who will be elitist, saying you need to cook on this grill. I mean, especially Facebook. Facebook is fun. You go on there and you'll say, okay, well, you can't cook on a Kamado grill because yours is red or yours is green.
I hate Facebook.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A Kamado grill is a Kamado grill. By and large, I think the community on Instagram is more positive and more supporting than what you're going to find on the keyboard warriors that are on Facebook and even the forums. The forums, back in the day, I was on the big forums, and that kind of drove me to Instagram because that got so bad that it was just like, even within people that are all big green egg cookers, they became like, well, you're cooking it this way, so you're wrong. Or, you can't do that. But it's like, you got to be able to try stuff. And I think in the Instagram world, there's a lot more positive reinforcement or people just supporting people for trying something new or doing something different. That's fantastic.
Well, that's like like I said, we had Eric Geipart on here.
Mm-hmm.
He is like the head culinary visionary of the Kamado Joe team. And he had no qualms about coming on with two guys from Team Big Green Egg, because he knew what we were about, and he knew that no one cares here. The fact is, we're talking about the food. We're not talking about the grills. We're not selling anything. We're not sponsored by anybody. We need sponsors, but don't sign up here. But it is what it is. We're more concerned about people nailing the cooks we're talking about. We want anybody to be able to nail the stuff we're doing, and that's why we do it.
Well, you guys are doing a damn good job of doing it. So cheers to you guys. So.
Well, thank you, sir, and right back at you.
Well, I like I said, I started this page 2 years ago, not expecting anything, and it all took a turn when COVID started. It really did. Mm-hmm. It was, we were watching a live chat between two of I don't know if you guys know, there's a it's called the World Butchers Challenge. It's like the Olympics of butchery.
Yes.
And we have I think 6 to 8 people per team per country in the world. Canada has one, New Zealand has one, Australia has one, Ireland, the UK, Brazil, US. We all have a team, and I didn't know that 2 years ago. I didn't even know they had the Olympics of butchery. They call it the World Butchers Challenge.
Yep.
And they all come together and they all break down animals and all the way down to where you're presented to the consumer.
Yeah.
And Canada has a great team. They have some great people. Some of them from where you're at there in Edmonton, correct?
Yep.
With Corey and Elise and Chris. We have some great men and some women, I guess, in kind of the lower, the apprentice style. But we have Travis Stockstill and Brian Mayer and a lot of great butchers throughout the United States. But it takes a lot to bring people together and show that what we can do as far as butchers. And for people to be able to see that and to see what we can take out of a whole animal and break it down into what you're going to put in a final product in front of a person that's going to eat it is simply amazing. It's sorry, my dad just texted and saying good job. So he's watching on this.
Nice.
But it's a passion, and I take a passion in I'm not a part of the World Butcher team. I don't see myself ever being a part of the World Butcher team. I see myself being able to take a product, a subprime animal, a whole animal, wild game. Doesn't matter if it's my wild game that I have harvested or somebody else's wild game that they've harvested, whether good or bad. I don't know if you guys are hunters or fishermen or anything like that, but all I want to do is be able to go out there and put the best product out that I can.
Yep.
If I'm in the grocery store or in my shop, I try to put out the best thing possible, whether it's a ribeye, filet, ground beef, ground pork, sausage, anything like that. I mean, I sat there and I made 80 pounds of sausage today. That might not be a lot in some shops, but it's a lot in mine. But I'm going to put the best goddamn product that I can out for the consumer. It doesn't matter if they live here or not. I don't care if you live here or not. I'm going to put out the best product I can. And all it takes is for one person to say that this product is shit. And I had one person today. He's a great customer, great person. I see him almost every day. Brought back a brisket flat that had too much fat left on the fat end. And brought it back. Wanted a new brisket. I took it, grabbed it, took another brisket. Etched out the price tag, ashed out the USP, said no charge, take it. He goes, well, this is more than that product there. I go, I'm sure. I said, I want you to be happy. And that's what it takes. If you have somebody that's irritated or pissed off in the product that's been put out there, I have to make it right.
100%.
And it doesn't matter what the dollar is. It matters what the consumer is and what the customer is the fact that if they get a shitty product, they're not going to come back.
Right.
If they get a shitty product and they bring it back to me and I give them a better product at more than what they paid for free, they're going to keep coming back.
100%.
And it's a double-edged sword in a way because you can do that and they can take advantage of you, and they can do that or appreciate you. this person I know appreciated it. And that's the double-edged sword in a way, is you get those people that appreciate the product that you put out there.
Yep.
And you hope that you get the appreciation of the people that are entitled. I call it entitled,
Yep.
in a way that, you can make them happy in some sorts.
Yep.
Where I'm at on an island with anywhere from 6,000 to 16,000 people, depending on the winter or the summer seasons, you hope that you make them happy.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter if it's the owner of my company or a friend of the owner of my company. If that friend comes buys a steak or a roast for me and it's shit, and they go to the owner of my company and say, this product is shit, Travis is the one that sold it to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell, and they say it to this person, it just turns into a rotten chain at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I want that good chain. I want that person that says, hey, I bought this steak or this roast or this cube steak, this whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you go tell your brother, your cousin, your friend, your distant friend that once you come here, go buy meat from Travis, go buy meat from the retail butcher, go follow the retail butcher. It's just like you guys in barbecue.
Yep.
If you put out a shitty brisket or a shitty picanha or a shitty tri-tip, it's a deadly cycle.
Oh, brother, man, with these barbecue gigs that I've been doing, I've been bringing Elvira out on site and doing that. Most of these people follow.
Yeah.
They know what I turn out. They know what I turn out daily.
You put out a beer corn. If your beer corn is shit, somebody says it's shit, it's going to go down the wrong road.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. So now I'm doing a gig for 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
Every plate. And the barbecue Buddha said it best, but we had a good long chat. Everything he does is value added, right? Mm-hmm. You add something to everything you do. I'm serving 200 people. I want every single person that touches that fine china plate coming out of my hand to feel like they were part of it.
Yeah.
You got questions about the smokeless? I got time.
Now, if you put out a shitty product, which I doubt you do, because you're so good at, and both of you guys are both good at what you do.
Yeah.
You put out a bad product. Who's the next guy down the chain that's going to get the wrath of putting out a bad product? It's me.
Yeah.
That guy didn't cut it right. That didn't. It's a chain of events.
Yeah.
I'm the last guy that touches the product that you guys cook.
Yeah.
So my goal in my life, in my career, in my passion is to put out the best product that I can for you guys. And it doesn't matter whether it's small or big. It's that final product.
Yeah.
It's the product that you sit there and you cut with. Doesn't matter whether it's a fork or a steak knife or a spoon or you crush it by hand. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's that final product in a way that goes into the consumer's mouth that's gonna tell the story of this whole thing.
And I think to Mel's point earlier, that's the benefit of getting to know your butcher, getting to develop a relationship with them. Is because if you have an issue, you can talk with them, but also, when they see you coming in, they know that, okay, this is from Mel. They're going to, they might take the extra step to make sure that it's, cut just right. It's trimmed from the fatter end of the tenderloin, or, they might take the extra step where, when you go to just these bigger box stores, you may not develop that relationship with that person. They're just like, here it is. See ya. Here it is. Give me the money, and you're gone. So everybody out there listening, that's one of the benefits where you have to, get to know where your meat comes from. Get to know who's.
Yeah, but how many times in a catering event or a barbecue have you guys been asked, where did you get your product?
Yeah.
Right. A lot,
That's-
classes that I teach that say, okay, well, where do you get your meat from? Where's a good place to go get this? Where's a good place to source this from? And if you have that relationship, you're more than happy to pass that other information
And
out.
it doesn't matter whether it's in the cryo or if it's trimmed by the butcher or not. It doesn't matter. You're buying it from that company, that store, that person.
Right.
And
well, that's
and the chain is, you can be a great chain or it can be a deadly chain.
yeah. But, yeah.
So
No,
I'm
100%.
super passionate about the product that I put out and the product that people get. If people want to call me out on their, on the stuff that they get, I'm pretty boisterous at this point in my career that I'll set them into, set them in their own place, because I've learned from guys like you that.
Yep. Well, no, it helped.
There's different ways of barbecuing it. There's different ways of preparing it. It's just different ways of doing things. It's not just on me, the butcher.
Yep.
The fact that the product that you get, it's the way that you want to cook it. It's the way that you prepare it. It's the way that you plate it. That.
Yeah.
You could cook the perfect fucking brisket, but you could cut it the wrong way and it could be shit.
Yes. No, and that's...
You could cut it with the grain and totally fuck the whole thing up, and you want to come to me like it's my problem? No, you cut it with the grain. You didn't cut it against the grain. It's not my fucking problem. Yeah, it might have great flavor, but it's chewy as shit. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all part of like a symbiotic relationship, right? It's the whole thing, man, and that's like Chris's point before, to know where it starts, right to where it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. What every brisket I touch, I have faith that there was some heart that went into it before I put my 14-hour treatment on it, and then let it rest for 2 hours, and then slice it in front of a crowd, and then hand it out piece by piece. I'm putting my heart into it. I'm putting my passion into it. I have faith that someone else had that same heart into it before it got to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a whole chain of events. Yeah.
Well, can I take a pause and go take a piss real quick? I don't know.
Give her, man. Don't piss in a bottle. I'll tell you that right now, because Chris will call you right out.
We'll get called out.
I'm not going to piss in a trash can. I'm going to go inside. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I
started wearing diapers to this party, so.
Well, we're probably getting to the point where we're going to be winding down anyways. We're not going to have a stopper. He's gone. But is there any questions that anybody has out there that you want to address before we're done here, before we wrap things up? So if you have any questions, cuts that you might want to know a little bit more about, or anything else about the butchering world, drop them down now. While we, wind down tonight, as it's starting to get late. As you can see, it's no longer light out here.
It is. I haven't been in my hot tub yet today.
Oh.
And she's calling me, Chris. She's calling me.
Oh. Just don't fall asleep.
There's 100% chance I will. That's okay though. The wife puts a little neck floaty on me, so.
That's perfect. I just think of Tommy Boy.
Yeah, that's. Man, what a godsend that was. I can't believe we put that together as quick as we did.
Yeah, that came through quickly.
You remember last week when I was sitting in the kiddie pool, right? And everyone was like, yeah, good for you, bud. And now it's hooked up. It's going.
And did you have to pour a whole cement slab for it too?
We did, yeah. Yeah, we did that a month ago, actually. That's where the kiddie pool was sitting on at the time. That's yeah. Oh, it was all in the works, but man, me and Emily have been in there like 4 hours a day for the last 4 days since it's been here. Like, just Such a good time, man. That's the whole family piles in there now, and it's like
That's how you
can't have your phone in your hand, right? Because it's water.
Recharge that battery.
That's it, buddy. Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Right on.
And you're lucky to get one of those. From around here, I had a few people that were looking to get hot tubs, and they're on like an 8-month wait right now.
Chris, would you like to hear? You know Mel.
Yes.
You know Mel. It took a lot of ingenuity to get this to happen. There were a lot of backdoor deals and things like this, but it went through. And even the guy, when he was putting it in, he's like, I could sell this tomorrow for you for X amount of dollars. I'm like, you have no idea what it took for me to get this in this short a notice and what it like. Yeah, we're quite happy. Oh, it's up here, man. It's nuts. After COVID, like boats are going for 5 times the price. Hot tubs, boats, quads. It's nuts. Just nuts.
Housing.
Because no one's traveling, right? So what do you do if you're not traveling?
Right.
Well, then you invest in what you play with in your backyard. Well, the first thing you need a boat, you need a hot tub, so it's just been crazy.
Nuts.
Well, I heard rumors that, like, I'm not saying the brand, but there's a couple of brands of gas grills that are shipping in 2023.
Wow.
Like, they're not even saying 2022. They're saying 2023. Could you imagine paying, like, 20% down or something and knowing that you don't get it for 2 years?
Nope. Because you're not even going to want a gas grill by that point.
Exactly. That's it.
Oh.
Crazy. Just crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I had to run out of there. I got a little bladder. So. When you stand at all of 5'2", you have a little bladder. So.
Yeah, it's crazy times, but no, I really enjoyed talking to you, Travis, and kind of learning some of the back stuff. It's obvious that you have a lot of passion for what you do, and not just for what you do, but learning and kind of perfecting your craft and taking that next step. And I hope that you are able to eventually find a place where you can work on your co-op and your island beef and your island meats. Sorry, beef. But that's that's a really cool thing, and I think that is the idea of that with the meat shares and people pre-purchasing. Yeah, that's pretty common around here where people will get it from their farmer and they'll say, okay, I'll get a cow, or they'll go in with 4 people and they'll get a cow. But unfortunately, a lot of what you're going to get is going to be 80% of it's going to be ground beef.
Yeah.
Because they're not necessarily taken to that step further where, okay, I get the quarter cow, but then I'm going to go to somebody like you who is then going to break down that quarter cow. And, hey, I can give you more than 80% ground beef. I can give you more than just, a few ribeyes, a few tenderloins, and a few New York strips. I can take it that step further and get you your secondary.
Well, the thing was is this last year in my, in my deer season, is I had more of an influx of breaking down deer for people than I have in the last 4 or 5 years, and that gave me more time to I guess mess around with my own product in a way. And I say my own product as we only get 1 deer tag here on the island.
Okay.
Per person. So you can only harvest 1 deer. You can put in a raffle for another deer, but in my opinion, it's not worth it.
Okay.
But I bring up family and friends, and in the wintertime, when I'm not hunting for myself, I'm actually guiding in a way. And that is really like if something I've been asked, and excuse me, in the butcher's lounge, because this is so weird for me that I'm being asked the questions, I guess, in a way, because I'm always used to asking the questions. So I guess, throughout this whole week, I said, "Oh, I'm nervous." So this is I'm not used to this. It's, I've had Mel on the lounge, that was a great chat. I even showed up in a pink bathrobe for that chat. So, but I'm not used to be asked the questions, but it kind of makes me think in a way. During hunting season, this last year kind of opened up my eyes, because, like I said, I'm so used to, in the last 17, 18 years of working with subprimals with beef and pork and lamb and things like that. This hunting season, this wild game season, kind of brought a different realm to me, where I was breaking down the whole animal. And this year, out of most years in the past, because I've learned so much in these last few years of having the retail butcher page, having Butcher's Lounge Live, was the fact that I could break this deer down into more than what I'm used to breaking it down into. Because you normally take those flanks, those skirts, those flat irons, those mock tenders, the whole shoulder, all the way up to the neck, into hamburger. But this year, I had so much time with COVID in a way, because there was no winter sports. I'm used to coaching sports for my kids, and the kids in the community there was none of that. But I got to be able to take the time to break down this animal and these animals in a way to where I haven't in the past. And that's breaking them down, breaking down the shoulders into your mock tenders, your flat irons, your what you would call in the pork world, your pork butts, your chucks, your things like that. Your hindquarters, you're breaking them down into different muscle groups, your eye up rounds, your bottom rounds, your top rounds, your sirloins, all the way up into the back straps, and you're breaking them down into what in the beef world would be your New Yorks and your ribeyes, and you'll find the different things, your inside skirts, your outside skirts, your flanks, and you can find all that on my page. I broke it down, I posted it, and things like that. But if you can break it down in a smaller animal, as a deer, you can break it down into beef and a pork and a lamb and all that stuff, because they're all the same anatomy. They're all four-legged animals. You can break shit down into those different muscle groups. And that's absolutely what blew my mind through this whole fall and winter, was the fact that what I've been missing as far as breaking down an animal. And it's a deer, it's a lamb, it's a pig, it's whatever, but you're missing out on the little things because you're trying to get it done so fast that all these great cuts. You might, in a beef, you're getting a flat iron, I'm trying to, go within the camera, but, a good 12 to 16 inches, you're, and 3-4 inches thick, whatever, but in a smaller animal as a deer and sheep and things like that, you're trying to break this stuff down into smaller muscle groups, and it's been an absolute mind blow for me to try to do this and to try to make these cuts. I guess, in my opinion, if I can make these cuts perfect in a smaller animal, I can make them perfect in a bigger animal.
I've seen them too, the size of a beer can, man. It's awesome. It's like that's skill. That's crazy skill.
Which took a little bit of controversy, but I got blocked and whatever. It's the animal shit, and I don't want to get into that. It's a whole different room. But I did a gutless method on a deer that I had took for a friend. The friend bought the tag, wasn't able to hunt, so I took it was one of the first deer I took, and of course, the first deer I took was in the first 45 minutes of the deer season, and I was nervous, and I put a bad shot on the deer. I'll be the first to admit that. I put the bad shot on the deer. I put it right through his guts. Being an archery hunter, inches are miles, and I couldn't find this deer. It took a long time to find this deer, and it ended up being 20 feet from where I was walking. But I found this deer, knew that the guts and the internal everything was kind of exposed to the meats, and I did a time-lapse video of a gutless method of breaking down a deer. It was going up, skinning the deer up the back, peeling everything back, inside to out, and popping the hips off, popping the shoulders off, boning out the back straps, taking everything down the rib cage, your flanks, which are this small on a venison compared to a beef. You're taking all those muscle groups off, not knowing you're taking those muscle groups off without gutting the animal. The only thing you're really leaving behind is the tenderloins, which are exposed to the inside of the stomach and everything else, which you don't want to eat. You don't want to consume any of that. So that being said, I brought home two venison hindquarters, two venison shoulders, and back straps with plate and belly meat along with it, and had to break it down from there. And this is where I kind of gained all of the love and the respect for this butcher community, because it was the first time I really actually got to take time to break down this animal group from group, muscle for muscle. And I fell in love with doing that. And that's where my love of butchery kind of came in, because being a grocery store butcher, things get repetitive. You're opening the same animals every day. You're opening the same muscle groups every day. You're grinding the same meat every day. This is where I got to kind of step into my own garage, my own kind of realm, and with my own mind and my own talent in a way, without sounding conceited, was I could break down this animal however I wanted to. And that was cool, because I found the flanks, I found the flat irons, I found the chuck tenders.
Yeah, it's a new way,
everything in between.
It's a new way to yourself.
They might have been this fucking big, but I found it, and I know where that's at, and I know where that's going to be on any other animal, whether, like I said, whether it be lamb, pork, beef, elk, moose, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. It doesn't matter where it's going to be there. So,
I'm not going to lie to you, brother.
Never shoot Rudolph. Just to put that out there.
I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I broke down a lamb once. And I tried to get as detailed as I could, and I felt like I was working on a rabbit, and I gave up. Like, it was too detailed. It was too fine. I couldn't produce the cuts I needed to produce, and I gave up. Like, I was hoping to give like an entire, and I quit. I quit halfway through it because it was just too fine.
No, it's a whole different ball game. It really is, to break them down from muscle group to muscle group. But it was very humbling in a way to be able to take the time to be able to do that, because you guys learn different ways of barbecuing, whether preparing them and going from there. You're not butchers by I don't think any stretch.
No.
But for me to be able to do that, to break down a smaller animal into the muscle groups that I'm used to cutting out of a bag, was pretty amazing to me. But to be able to share that with my son too was pretty cool too. So it only helps him in his knowledge. He wrapped my son is 7 years old, and he probably wrapped up in a food saver probably 4 or 5 deer this year all by himself. And
awesome.
I would break it down from from quarters and eighths or whatever you want to break it down to. I broke a deer on the tailgate of my truck in my driveway over garage lights, and in front of him. But that's all he wants to do, is he wants to put meat in the freezer and do it that way. And I hope I'm not going off topic, but
no, and I think that's what it's all about. You know, whether you're butchering, whether you're cooking it, whether you're trying to just get pictures of what you do. I think everything what it's about is taking your passion, finding different ways to capture yourself, and maybe hone your skills or take them a step further. Whether it's finding the cuts of beef on a deer or doing something like that. It's different ways to challenge yourself, push yourself a little bit more, and continue to find that passion. And I think that's fantastic.
But it's not just for
100%.
myself. It's passing it on to anybody else that wants to learn it.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's whether a 55-year-old guy that wants to, or a guy or a girl that wants to come in and learn the art of butchery. I'll be willing to teach them. It doesn't matter if they're 55, 65, or 7 years old, like my son. He wants to get in there.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this last year was I put an amazing shot on a deer, and I watched that deer die within 50 yards from where I shot it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I live on an island. It doesn't take very long to get from wherever you are to where home is. And I call my wife, and our code is big buck down in our family. And you guys can see the wall. It's I've got some. I hold out. I hold out for the the oldest, most mature buck I can. In the seasons I have. And so I called my wife after I shot this deer, which is not on this wall. And I said, "Big buck down." I said, "Do you want to grab Wyatt?" And she handed him the phone, and he goes, "Hey, Dad." I go, "Big buck down." He goes, "Can I come out?" I go, "Yes." And like I said before, I put a great shot on this deer, and I knew where he had dove into the bushes. He was dead. It was that good. It was that shot. It was the shot. And so I found my arrow, went and looked around, and found my hunting buddies. They were all in the same. We hunt the same, 80. I think it's 80 to 100 acre plot.
Yeah.
And got together with them, and finally my son showed up, and it was immediate blood trail, and it was cool in a way, because we, like I said, we try to teach our younger youth. And I said, "Okay," I go, "Here's your first blood." I go find your deer. And I didn't touch him. I didn't point him in the right direction. It was just, he was nose to the ground like a bloodhound.
Yeah.
But the fact of the moment was when he found that deer, that was the highlight of my life, because it was like he shot the deer. He was like, he found it. He was, it was there in his hands, and going through the whole gutting and explaining, breaking it down and dragging it out and this and that and that and this was I could tell he was grasping onto things. And, and then we took it to the place where we hang it, and, you go from there, break it down and things like that. Was, he was there, 7 years old by my side wanting to learn it. So if I can do that for a 7-year-old, not whether it's my son or not, and pass on the knowledge of butchery in my eyes, because like I said before in this whole chat, was people do things different in different areas. If you can learn just the basics of finding an animal, breaking it down, gutting it, things like that, and be able to put it in a bag and cook it and consume it, that I've won in my game. So
100%.
So, like I said, I don't mean to go off topic. I tend to do that from time to time.
Oh no, that's all right, man.
No. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But breaking down an animal has been a whole different ballgame for me in my world. So
Nice.
So have you guys done venison at all?
I have to deal with it. I don't do a lot of hunting because I don't have to. I've got so many buddies, and up here hunting is life. I end up with carcasses all over the place anyway. So I'm doing all the processing. I'm not doing any of the hunting. Yeah.
And Chris, I know you're from Wisconsin. You got a lot of whitetail back there. So
We do. I have my in-laws all hunt, and my brother-in-law he'll always bring me some deer. He hunts up in a county where he doesn't usually take the shot unless it's a 12-point buck or more. And he had this beautiful. It ended up being 11-point buck, but it's beautiful drop line on it. Beautiful buck. That my nephew was 11. Well, he turned 11 now, so he was 10 at the time when he took it down. It was beautiful. Yeah. So I don't do the hunting. I always played sports and hunting. We couldn't miss a basketball practice to go hunting. So
Yeah.
I do have to throw this out because I'm a Seahawks fan. Are you gonna have a quarterback this year? I mean, I'm just asking.
We're fine. We'll play this year.
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
As all Green Bay Packers fans say, "Oh, we're fine."
Much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
Working on his golf career is what he's doing.
Yep. Well, boys, I got to tell you, I'm about ready to call it a night. I got to get some rest after a long night on call last night.
Yeah.
I mean, one time you got to dip out.
What's that?
I said, Aaron Rodgers one time. You got to dip out.
He brought up Aaron. I'm out. No, this was a lot of fun. It was great to hear kind of stuff on the other side. Like I said, a lot of our followers are on our end of things. They don't necessarily. Some of them might not be thinking about where their beef comes from, where their meat comes from, or who the last person touching it was. And there's a lot of people that learn a lot of stuff tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is fantastic.
One thing I can say is I am a grocery store butcher. I have been for 18 years, and I have been more educated in this last 2 years about supporting your local butcher than I have in the last 18. And like I said, coming from a grocery store butcher, go support those local guys, man. Support your local, your local butcher shops, your local farmers, your local slaughtermen. And get that good product. I'm not saying my product's bad. I try to put out the best product possible, but just support those small town butchers, those small town farmers. Anything. It doesn't matter if it's beef, pork, lamb, chicken, vegetables. Go support them because they need it. These big agricultural companies, these big beef companies, pork companies, chicken companies, they don't need the money. These small butchers, these small town, farmers, they need the money. Small town butcher shops, go support them because these big agricultural companies, they don't need it. So that's what I'm going to end on. So
right on. And Travis, one more time, can you just let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah.
They can follow me in Alcoholics Anonymous. Sorry. No, that's bad. I'm sorry. I am the retail butcher. No, you caught me on that giggle. I am the retail butcher. And you can follow me there. You can see all my live chats and butcher chats on butchers_lounge_live. And you follow my personal page, TravyB85. You can follow my kids' fishing page, Pond Fishing San Juan. I'm all about community and putting a great product out there, whether it's for families and kids, and I like to have fun in between. So
right on.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're avid hunters, we're avid fishermen, so be on the lookout for that, and support your local butchers, support your local farmers.
Right on, man.
Just don't support the Packers. Don't do it.
Come on now. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Again, be sure to follow @the Retail Butcher on Instagram. Give them a follow and join us next week right here on After the Cook. We have
the barbecue Buddha, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He's coming up again. It's always a good time with the barbecue Buddha, Chris Sussman.
You never know what's
It's a great time.
It's the Buddha bite.
The Buddha
That's
bite.
right. All right, guys.
Good
Have a
up,
good night.
Great night, everybody.
I appreciate you.